Hello everybody, my name is Lou and I am here finally doing my review of Borderlands the pre-sequel. I did finish the game a little while ago, I just haven't got the time to put up anything. Hopefully I'll be putting up something tomorrow, but I digress. I finished the game, and now I want to give a synopsis of it, how I felt the game was, what I liked about it, and what I really didn't like about it. Now, I am using a new microphone, so hopefully this will get everything that I am saying. Fingers crossed. So, let's just start it out. The things I like about the pre-sequel and what it does. Now, it pretty much mixes Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 together. Now, for example, they use the damage scaling of Borderlands 1 and the storytelling of Borderlands 2. Wasn't a big fan of the story in 1, and the way damage scaled and ramped up so hard in 2, it was just like, oh jeez, it's like you were doing at least millions upon millions of points of damage, maybe within, depending on what your setup was, maybe your second playthrough of the game, depending on what your build was, of course. Another thing I like is how the guns in this game don't instantaneously become useless within the matter of 5 seconds. Now, the reason why I liked this over anything is because I kind of like hoarding guns a little bit. I know it's a little weird, especially in a game like this, but there are some guns that I just grown an affinity for, that I like to use, regardless of what it is and what level it is. I just like the way the gun works, I like the design of the gun, and just what effects it brings. Like, for example, I'll show you right here. I still have my Vibe Pulse. It's level 16. I'm level 30, and I'm still using it. And it's still a useful weapon. Granted, it doesn't, it may not kill a lot of things, but it does serve a purpose, and that's why I'm gonna keep on using it, I guess, until I find a level 50 version of this, which I can get through my second playthrough. The other thing I like is how they made shields useful again. Now, what I mean by that is that in Borderlands 2, shields were basically fluff. You took 2 bullets, there went your shield. It's like, well, you had to hope you had a lot of HP, and you had to hope you have a regen, which almost every character had a regen-esque ability. But I felt, again, goes into the damage output, like, enemies were just dropping your shield like it was going out of style, and it was like, so why even bother having it? I mean, I'd rather just have my health and just use, like, a Bucky Bronco shield, and just be able to say, hey, look, I have DR20, and DR 20% overall damage, and now I'm gonna go and not soak up this amount of damage. Okay? Let's see. The low gravity is fun. It is challenging, though. And what I mean by challenging, I should say, is that you need to really learn how to use your mobility. Especially with the Oz kit. You have to be able to know where you're going to land, you have to be careful where you land, and the most important thing, you have to make sure that if you're going to butt stomp somebody, that you have enough height. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to butt slam somebody just to jump on their head. Kragans are a big problem with this because they all huddle under you. So you won't think you hit a butt slam, but in essence you do. You're just on top of them instead of landing on the ground. Now, back to another thing that I kind of like. Shock. Going back to my Vibe Pulse. It's a shock weapon. Shock is actually useful again. Not saying it wasn't useful before, I just don't like the fact that, again, shields went down in like 2 or 3 hits in Borderlands 2. Why ever use shock when you can just blast somebody with a frickin' unkept herald? It's like, oh, there goes your shield. Have fun with that. Couple that with a B, and it's like, well, you're almost dead. So I'm glad shock in this game serves a very vital purpose. The skill trees for all the characters are very well balanced. And what I mean by that is that the skill trees are made specifically so that you get to be awesome, but at the same time, you're not overly powerful. Now, that stands question due to the fact that I am playing probably the most overpowered character in the game, Nisha. I mean, as you can see, I went down, my first tree was Riflewoman. Now, in most of my videos, I have a screenshot of when her skill builder first came up. And that was my original build for her. It was going to be Riflewoman and Fan the Hammer with one thing of order. But then I realized orders, without Law and Order, this isn't going to work. She has a regen thing, Showdown, but I'm not going to bother getting it because most of the time, I am murdering things. And here's why. Grip gives me health regen with a kill, which is fine. Quick Shot gives me extra damage. I got these two because I don't mind having my magazine sizes up because it does help with some weapons, i.e. like sniper rifles and rocket launchers, which is nice. Impatience is alright. Again, it's an okay skill, not very needed. Crack Shot is probably one that I definitely would invest in because this isn't worth it at all. And this is the skill that probably should have been that. Granted, I love Unforgiven. Unforgiven is fucking amazing, especially with the Vibe Pulse, but Tombstone is what makes this whole tree go round. And the reason why is because, yes, it's a kill skill, but you murder... everything's a critical hit. Everything's a critical hit. And then you have Ms. Moxie's Vibe Pulse, which can bounce to targets if they're close enough. It's just ridiculous. Speaking of the Vibe Pulse, again, the laser weapons are fun to use, and it's a nice addition to the game. Now, the lasers, of course, everyone, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters, then, you know, you probably should. But being able to shoot a laser that basically looks like something out of the Proton Pack is fucking awesome, and I love it. This is probably, by far, the coolest weapon in the game. Well, for me, I enjoy it thoroughly. Plus, it's a Moxie weapon, so you get the health steal for every time you deal damage with it, which is also good. Another thing I like, and I'm going to the beginning point that I made with the storytelling, is that it's nice to see Jack's transformation from lowly Hyperion code monkey to the tyrannical, crazy, handsome Jack. And it's fantastic to see this transformation because they do it very slowly. It's not just, oh, I'm Jack, I'm here. Oh, by the way, now I'm going to be a crazy asshole. No, it's slow and it progresses and progresses until it gets to the point, and then boom. Then you see beginnings and the rise of handsome Jack, which is fucking great. I did like the final boss. I liked the... Now, this is a spoiler. If you didn't beat the game or you haven't gotten to the end with, you know, I apologize henceforth. So please, if you don't want to hear what the final boss is, you probably should stop and or skip over this part. The Sentinel. I like the fact that he had 7 forms. 7. That harks to like an old style game where, oh, I killed the boss, okay, and oh, he has another form. Shit. Oh, he has, oh, it's like an endurance run to see, basically at the end, to culminate all the skill you've earned and see how well you can do. Unfortunately for Sentinel, they made Nisha, and Nisha just wrecked its shit. Athena also wrecked its shit too, because I did do a playthrough of Athena because I wanted to play Athena, because she seemed like she was a really solid character, and she is. She's fucking awesome. I also like how they implemented this new grinder mechanic into making your shitty gear better. I also like how they updated it so now you can grind 3 legendaries to get a legendary, or 3 purples to get, again, another purple, but a different type of purple. It has a fantastic concept, and you also can do it with the moonstones there, which is their substitution for iridium. Fantastic concept. I liked it. It made it work. Now here's the stuff that I didn't really like. There's stuff that maybe they could have worked on. The Oz kits, the Oz, didn't really matter, especially when you start the game with like a bar of 100, and it doesn't really seem to go down all that quickly when you're running around in the atmosphere, well, running around in the areas with no atmosphere. I could literally probably use the first Oz kit from the beginning and not have a problem running it through the whole game with it. I mean, there are better Oz kits, but I felt like that one alone could have carried me the whole game without ever getting anything else. And that's kind of a problem, because it shouldn't have been that way. It should have been, okay, these Oz kits should have been a little bit more of a focus. It should have been a little bit more important to manage your oxygen. And the butt slams were fun. The double jumps are fun. Like, it literally takes 10 points of Oz to do a double jump, which is fine. But I mean, in a regular atmosphere, what the fuck are you gonna care? You're just gonna, hey look, atmosphere, boof. Hey look, atmosphere. And that does get a wee bit repetitive from time to time. I did like the fact that they made a stingray, like the little hover bike. Didn't really like the way you had to utilize it a little. Like, it's like, okay, this one area you need to use the stingray, and you have to do it over a jump. And if you watch some of my playthroughs with it, I suck with this fucking thing. I barely use it. The only time I ever use it is in, actually I can show you what area is the only time I ever use a vehicle, I believe. There may be 2 times I used a vehicle, only to get around. And it was Triton Flats. That was the only time I needed to use a vehicle. Basically everything else, maybe the canyon or the spur, one of the 2 there, I believe has a vehicle part, but everything else you don't need to use a vehicle for. It's usually you run into a facility like the Hyperion Hub of Heroism, which is already has atmosphere. The ribs in this have atmosphere, you know. It wasn't very necessary. And even if you ran out of Oz, you could just as easily walked into one of the air pockets and regained it all, plus whatever health you lost while losing oxygen. So, it should have been a little bit, you know, a little bit more of a penalty for you to run out of Oz and try to run off without it, but it really wasn't. I went through Oz again, god damn it. Alright. And I already talked about the vehicles, because the vehicles are fucking terrible. Well, not terrible, they're vehicles. I didn't really care for them. The legendaries, now, other than the laser weapons and the Oz kits, I believe that almost all the legendaries in the game, there probably are 1 or 2 new ones, but most of them are just copies or renames or reskins. Like the Fragnum, it's a herald. It's just a little different. Shoots at a different kind of spread, but it's a herald through and through. The IVF, baby maker, through and through. And I guess that's a little irritating to me, only because it would have been nice to see maybe a few new legendaries. There are quite a few new uniques, like for example this Arctic system purge. That's pretty cool, unique. Again, harking back to the vibe pulse. Snowball is basically the fastball, only ice instead of, whatever the fastball would come in. The snowball's not bad. I kind of felt that this was a little bit of a lazy move on their part. They could have brought in a few new legendaries. I mean, mix in some of the old, but not depend on them so much. Speaking of the legendaries, here's probably one of the biggest gripes I have about this game. That you either have to grind or vend hunt for legendaries. That to me is a big waste of time. It's pretty bad when you have to literally just... you basically have to... For me, I'm on a PS3. That I have to hit my PS home button, bounce out, bounce back in, just to see them revamp the vending machines, just so that I could see to buy a legendary. And then do this multiple times until eventually one pops up. The IVF I got that out of a vending machine. Got it straight out of a vending machine. I sold all my garbage, and I was like, oh look, IVF. I'll take that. It's a fucking baby maker, why not? Good fucking gun. So again, I didn't really like the fact that that's kind of the way that you had to get most of your legendaries. Now, here's one of the bigger problems that I have with this game. Cryo is super powerful. Now, Cryo is the new element in this game. They took out Slag because, to be honest, Slag was kind of terrible. It wasn't great. It could have been utilized a lot better, but unfortunately it wasn't. And they put in Cryo, which basically is, oh, you get hit by this, there's a chance to freeze somebody. Like with my Snowball, or with some of my other weapons I believe I have Cryo with. Like that, my frickin' SMG. I have another SMG that does that. So, and it works on almost anybody. I mean, it works on all the enemies. It just freezes them in place, and you go melee them and dead. Practically just like that. And it's very, very, I guess I would like to say, I guess it's a little cheap. I mean, I understand why it's there, because it's the new element. Everybody's been wanting ice forever, and that's understandable. But on the same hand, it's a little too powerful. It's like, oh, well, we have to make Cryo really, really good. So we're going to make Cryo, like, stupid good, and that's going to be the main, like, again, like, I like how they made Shock a little bit more relevant because the shields are a little tougher, so you need to have a Shock weapon with you so you can drop the shields. But in the same instance, it's like, oh, well, we have Cryo, and Cryo can do, well, it can't do what Shock can do. It can't just drop a shield almost instantaneously. But it can, like, fucking just put somebody in their place. It's like, oh, you're frozen, wham, you're dead. Especially, like, with Nisha, because Nisha can go, you're frozen, you're frozen, you're frozen, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. That was kind of a problem. Fire is basically useless. Now, I say basically is because if you're not in an atmosphere, fire ain't gonna do shit. It's basically the new non-elemental in this game. Without an atmosphere, fire's alright. With an atmosphere, without an atmosphere, it's a piece of crap. With an atmosphere, it's alright. It's pretty good. But why use fire when you can have Cryo? Like, literally, if I would have to set up how, as odd as this is, a tier list, yes, I'm using a tier list, talk about what elements in this game are the best, I'd have to go Cryo, Shock, Corrosive, and there's a tie at the bottom for explosive and fire. Yep. And that's how it basically is. Lastly, again, going back to the final boss, I liked how it was like an endurance run to see how well you could do and the culmination of what your skills are and how well you can utilize everything that you built your character towards. But, for example, Nisha rinsed him. She literally just walked up and blasted the crap out of him in, I believe, less than 10 minutes. I rinsed through every single form he had with the Vibe Pulse. I don't think I even switched weapons. I just went my Vibe Pulse. I even fought him again as the raid boss and used the Vibe Pulse and this rocket launcher because I dropped twice and I beat it by myself. I also beat it with Athena by herself. No people, no nothing. And the reason why I did that was because of this fucking little thing here, the Arctic Systems Purge. This thing is amazing. Because again, during the end of the game, and again I apologize for the spoilers, but this thing here is wondrous in an atmosphere. Because it does shockwave damage, and it has a radius of the shockwave where it comes out. So you're constantly blasting your gun with it. Your Oz is dropping because it has 142. So you get one shot, drop most of its shield. Well, the shock will hit first, then the Nova. So you'll drop its shield almost definitely. You'll probably kill the thing in one shot. Then you'll get your kill skills to go, which are, for example, on my Nisha, is Bonafide Grit and Tubestone. So you have 35% extra critical hit damage and a 42% chance to do more critical hits. And your first shot does bonus damage. And if you kill an enemy with this shot, they explode, dealing damage to all other enemies. So you combine that with this, and you're just mowing through people if they die in one hit. Because it's either crack shot's going to kill them, or, you know, the purge is going to kill them. And that's basically how I rinsed it. I mean, you get it from killing the robot when you have to do the Tassler mission to exterminate the virus off the Dole. You have to fight the Dole soldier. Then you have to pick whether to destroy the robot that's been shooting you the whole time, or locking him in that room. And if you kill the robot, you get the purge, which is what I did with Athena. In my Nisha run through, I didn't kill the robot. I kept him around to try to get his legendary drop, and I got the lobber, which is right. Oh, the gobber. Sorry, the globber. Ugh, I can't even say fucking words. The globber. Now, which comes up to my biggest problem of this game. Why can we not farm for legendaries? I mean, seriously. No offense. I do not want to grind or vendor spam for legendaries. I want to fight guys for my legendaries, because I think that's a little bit more fun. There are a few you can farm for legendaries, and again, legendaries aren't terrible, but when you have certain specific mission-esque enemies that only appear once, and you need to kill that enemy to get them to drop a specific legendary item, I don't think it's very fair that that thing needs to be there. It's like, oh, you finished the mission? Well, he's never going to show up again. That's stupid. What if Jasper, before the DLC, was a one-time encounter? So you only had one chance to get that beat. And if you didn't get it, well, sorry. Looks like you're going to have, I mean, you could always just dashboard it out, but that's irritating as hell. What if they patch that and say, oh, well, no, can't dashboard out. You can't press the home button on the PS3 3 or do what you do for Xbox, and nope, can't farm it that way. You get one shot at it, and that's it. That'd be irritating as hell. And again, that's my biggest gripe. I would like to farm legendaries, because, I mean, I beat the game. I don't want to, I probably going to play True Vault Hunter mode to get my guys to 50, but, I mean, other than that, that's about it. I mean, my last, gripe with this game, and I say gripe as in, not like I'm angry at it or that I hate it, because I don't. I love this game. I love this series. Is that it seems like if I would have to, again, rank up how the characters all line up and how powerful they are, honestly, I would probably put Nisha and Athena at the top. Claptrap I've played a little bit of. I kind of like Claptrap, but I'm not in love with him. He looks like he can be a lot of fun if you put the time into him, and he does have the bonus for the explosive stuff, but again, I'm not really big into, Claptrap's a cool character and all, but I'm not really big into him. I have been playing the Jack Doppelganger. I kind of like the Doppelganger a little bit more than Claptrap. I absolutely do not like Wilhelm. I mean, I don't want to do his cybernetic commando tree, the one where he becomes a robot, because I feel like, well, everyone's going to do that tree, because everyone wants to see him become a robot. I already know he becomes a robot, so guess what? I want to do the ones that buff his fucking surveyor drones, and see how that works. It's not terrible, but it's, again, it's one of those things that, this is just my opinion, mind you. You can have a totally different opinion. You can be like, Lou, you're a fucking moron. What the fuck are you talking about, you crazy asshole? And it was fine. That's why I wanted to talk about this and just give my opinion about this game in general, because I really like this game. I really believe that it's one of my favorite games. Kinda wish you would have came to current gen consoles, the PS4 and Xbox One. I didn't mind that it came to PS3 and 360, just try to eke out a little bit more life out of those systems, which is never a problem, but again, would have liked to see a current gen port at some point. For now, I'm just going to have to settle with Tales of the Borderlands, which I did get for my PS4, which is fucking awesome. If you liked Borderlands 1, 2, the pre-sequel, get Tales of the Borderlands. It's really fun. If you played any of the Telltale games, I'd recommend it. $5 an episode. You get 5 episodes, and they bring them out every 2 or 3 months or so. So, which isn't bad. And also, again, you can get the season pass for $20, get 1 episode free, which is basically episode 1. And it gives you a bonus for the pre-sequel at some point, which is nice. So, all in all, the pre-sequel is fantastic. It does fix a little bit of the problems that Borderlands 2 had, but in the same instance, it kind of makes it a little less fun trying to get those legendaries that you really, really, really like, but only come off of 5, maybe 6 certain enemies that only appear once during a mission, and if you screw it up, they're never coming back till another playthrough, which is irritating as hell. Most of the legendaries are just renamed or reskinned, which is kind of a lazy move. The lasers are fantastic. The butt slams feel cool as long as you do it right. I like how shock is important. Again, that's my opinion. I believe shock in BL2 was useless, because once you got past true Vault Hunter mode, you literally just rinsed things with whatever gun you had. And other than that, I like the game. It just has a few faults that I would hopefully, in time, get fixed. So, thank you so much for hearing me rant and talk about my review for Borderlands the pre-sequel. Hopefully I can do another one of these for another game that I would like in the future. Don't forget to check out all the videos for my playthrough. I'll put them don't forget to check all the links down below. Subscribe to my channel, like, favorite, share, all that stuff that I ask at the end of every video. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope you guys have a good day.